You won't believe what this ancient creature ate. The very first animal to ever walk on land was on a fish, or an amphibian, or a reptile. But a creature, unlike any living thing today. This is a jaw-dropping discovery that has rewritten the history of life on our planet. And here's why scientists are so excited about it. 436 million years ago, our planet was ruled by the oceans. Life had emerged in the seas around 3.5 billion years ago, with the first single-celled organisms. And for billions of years, that's all life was, single cells. Then some of those cells began working together, creating colonies of identical individuals. Multicellularity had arrived, and life would never be the same. Creatures like jellyfish and corals made their appearance, followed by the first animals, creatures such as crustaceans and mollusks. These were the first animals we know of that could move independently in the water column, swimming freely through the ocean. They didn't live on the bottom of the ocean like sponges, and they were unattached to rocks, either like corals. They could actually go anywhere in the water. But despite their mobility, these were still very much ocean-dwelling creatures. They couldn't survive on land at all, and something amazing happened. A group of animals evolved that could survive outside the water. No, we're not talking about amphibians. The fossil record shows us that these early tetrapods, the four-footed vertebrates that gave rise to all land animals, appeared around 365 million years ago. They had limbs and could support themselves on land. So you might think they were reptiles, or maybe mammals. But trust me, if you saw them, you'd know you were looking at something from another world. It looked nothing like any of today's terrestrial animals. They were essentially fish that had legs. Their bodies resembled an elongated eel with small legs at the end. These strange creatures were likely both aquatic and terrestrial, spending time in the water and on land. But even though they're the ancestors of all land animals, including us humans, scientists have been struggling to figure out exactly what they were. After all, we don't see them in the fossil record until after the first fish had already appeared. So how did they evolve? Where did they come from? You'd be surprised to learn that they weren't fish at all. Instead, these early tetrapods were closely related to a type of modern fish called lobe-finned fishes. Lobe-finned fishes are named for their fleshy, lobed paired fins, which include their pelvic and pectoral fins. Unlike ray-finned fishes like tuna or salmon, which have thin, bony or cartilaginous fins, supported by bony spines called radii. This fleshiness came from the presence of bone in their fins. For ray-finned fishes, their fins are basically just skin supported by bone. But for lobe-finned fishes, there's actual bone within the flesh of their fins. And this bone is similar to the bone in our arms and legs. In fact, it's so similar that it suggests that lobe-finned fishes could have been the predecessors of tetrapods, those four-legged vertebrates that eventually gave rise to all land animals. And if you look at a lobe-finned fish, you can almost see the beginnings of limbs where its fins should be. It almost looks like someone took a fish, added some bone to its fins, stretched out those fins into limbs and set it on land. But that's just a storybook version of evolution. And while it's a good story, stories aren't always true. Could lobe-finned fishes really be the ancestors of all terrestrial vertebrates? That's what scientists were wondering. They wanted to get to the bottom of this evolutionary mystery once and for all. So let's start with the fish. These fish are the closest living relatives of tetrapods. And while they don't have limbs, their fin bones are strikingly similar to those of early tetrapods. Scientists wanted to understand how these fin bones developed in order to piece together the evolutionary puzzle. To do this, they needed to look at the genes that controlled the development of these bones. And what they found was astonishing. The genes that controlled the fin bones were also present in the earliest tetrapods, but they were turned off. Somehow, during the evolution of lobe-finned fishes, these genes were switched on. This led to the development of bony fin supports and may have been a crucial step in the transition to life on land. But it doesn't stop there. The researchers then looked at the diet of modern lobe-finned fishes to see if there was anything special about their diet that might have triggered the evolution of these genes. What they found was that these fishes were eating more than just regular old fish food. They were eating fossils. You heard that right, fossils. Now you might be thinking, wait a minute, fossils are dead. How could these fish be eating them? Well, what they were actually eating is the shells of marine animals that have died and sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Over millions of years, these shells have turned into sediment and are full of calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is the main ingredient in many shells and skeletons. And when these shells are broken down, they release calcium ions. And guess what? Calcium ions are essential for the development of bone. They help to give it its structure and strength. So what does all this mean? Well, it means that these fishes weren't just eating regular fish food, they were eating something that was full of calcium. And this may have been the key to their evolution. The extra calcium from the fossils may have triggered the switch in their genes, leading to the development of bony fin supports. So this in turn may have helped them to make the transition from water to land. So these fish didn't need to change their diet to adapt to life on land. Their diet may have actually given them the boost they needed to start exploring the great unknown beyond the waves. In other words, these lobe-finned fishes may have been perfectly adapted for life on land, thanks to their unusual diet. Who knows? One day we'll find the fossilized remains of a prehistoric fish with a hankering for shellfish. And speaking of fossils, these ancient fish weren't the only ones with a taste for the unusual. Take for instance Helicoprion, the extinct shark-like fish that had a spiral-shaped tooth whorl instead of jaws. Imagine that, or helicoprionoids, the bizarre fish that lived alongside Helicoprion and had a circular saw-like mouth full of blade-like teeth. Talk about a mouthful. But not all weird-toothed fish are extinct. Some of them, like mud skippers, live among us today. These amphibious fish have mouths that can twist and turn in ways we can only dream of, allowing them to gulp down prey both on land and in the water. Not to mention the anglerfish, the master of disguise, who lure their prey with light-up lures attached to their heads. Just goes to show that the animal kingdom never ceases to amaze. So the next time you're feeling a little down, just remember there's probably a fish somewhere with a mouth full of teeth that could put your problems to shame. Who knows, maybe one day we'll discover even stranger and more amazing creatures from the distant past. After all, there's a lot more to the animal kingdom than meets the eye. In the depths of the ocean, paleontologists recently unearthed a collection of fossilized fish that were unlike any they had ever seen before. Among them were several species of fish with incredibly long snouts, thin bodies, and huge eyes. One of the most remarkable of these was a fish called Protopyrus rosae. This fish had a huge head and a tiny body with disproportionately large eyes. Another fish, Macropisthus longirostrus, had a long, thin body with a narrow head and huge upward-facing eyes. Finally, there was a fish called Chinlopia longiphilus, which had a long, flattened head and huge, round eyes. These fish were unlike any others because of their huge eyes. There's a reason for that. All three of these fish were ambush predators. They lived in the dark depths of the ocean, where sunlight couldn't reach, and they needed huge eyes to see their prey in the darkness. Ambush predators typically have large forward-facing eyes that are adapted for binocular vision. This gives them a wide field of binocular vision, which is important for judging distances when attacking prey. The huge eyes of these fish suggest that they were active hunters, capable of chasing down fast-moving prey in the dark depths of the ocean. The researchers who discovered these fossils were excited because they provided new insights into the evolution of life in the ocean. The fish were found in rocks that were between 250 and 300 million years old, dating back to a time when life in the oceans was just beginning to recover from one of the largest mass extinctions in Earth's history. The researchers believe that these fish may have been among the first large predators to re-enter the oceans after the mass extinction, playing a major role in shaping the ecosystems of the time. One of the most exciting things about these discoveries is that they show how quickly life can recover from even the most devastating setbacks. The mass extinction that these fish were thought to have lived through was caused by a massive volcanic eruption in what is now Siberia. The eruption released huge amounts of gases and ash into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun and causing global temperatures to plummet. But life in the ocean still managed to bounce back, and these fish were some of the first to do so. Another interesting thing about these fish is that they provide a rare glimpse into the evolution of a unique adaptation, the elongated snout. The researchers believe that the elongated snouts of these fish may have been an adaptation to help them detect prey in the dark depths of the ocean. The snouts may have contained special sensory organs that were sensitive to changes in water pressure or chemical composition, allowing the fish to sense the presence of prey without actually seeing it. Overall, the discovery of these strange knouted fish is an exciting development in our understanding of the evolution of life in the ocean. These fish are a reminder of the incredible diversity of life that has existed on our planet and the amazing ways in which animals have adapted to survive in even the most challenging environments. That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more videos of Untamed Science.